Take Two is brought to you by Pizza Hut. We're taking pizza to where it's never been before, and Bank of Hawaii.
Hey, little girl.
Whoa.
Are you looking for something exciting, adventurous, something new and refreshing, like a Disney remake?
You're really scaring me. Are you? I
Come,
just wait.
come
I'm
now.
just no.
Come now to
I
Disney
don't.
remake.
I don't.
Come to Disney remake. Yeah.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Take Two, a movie review series critiquing the latest films hitting the cinemas. I'm Tony Wilde II, and this is not going to be a regular review. This is actually going to be a very special Take Two edition. And joining me in this very special Take Two edition is a very familiar face, a special guest, and one of the sweetest, kindest, gentlest ladies in the office, Tori Santos from Power 98. How you doing,
Hello,
Tori?
everyone. I'm doing good.
So, Tori, what are we doing here?
I know we're gonna talk about movies, right? That's what I was told.
Well, a movie.
A movie.
One movie in particular. Do you remember what that movie was?
Well, I forgot.
It was like 2 hours ago we saw the movie. Really? You forgot already?
What is it called again?
What we saw was Dumbo 2019. Now, exactly why are we doing it like this instead of the regular Take Two?
Well, when we watched Us, we had a conversation about how you weren't even going to be in front of this camera for this movie. And then it took 7 days for myself and our producer, Raph, to convince you to sit down and talk about what you love.
What I loved, huh? So, yeah, everything she said was true. A couple years ago, I made a promise to myself and to a bunch of my subscribers that I was not going to support any more Disney remakes. And to this very day, I still hold true to that because I love Disney. I love a lot of the things that they do. I just don't understand why they have to make these remakes, especially because they already have quality films. Like the year they released the first one that actually kickstarted this, which was Cinderella in 2015, they were doing pretty well movie-wise, and they were doing some original films. And then in 2016, they did Jungle Book. That was the very same year that they released Zootopia, which was one of the highest-grossing animated films of that year. So it made me say, why even? And even that year, the year they released Jungle Book was the year they announced they were doing The Lion King, and that was it. That was the thing that broke the camel's back for me. I'm like, I'm done. You know, I was willing to give Jungle Book a chance, but then after they said they were doing the Lion King remake, there was no way in the world I was going to support them.
Yet, cut to how many years later, and here we are.
4 years later. You know what's the irony of all this too? The Dumbo announcement, when they announced that they were making a Dumbo remake, was what pushed my disdain for these Disney remakes. And now here I am, like you said, many years later, and we're talking about Dumbo. I even saw the movie, a movie I said I would not see.
I sat next to him. He laughed a lot.
We'll get to that. But before we get into that, real quick though, Tori, let's talk about these Disney remakes and how we feel about them. It's no secret how I feel about them. I don't like them. I don't think they're necessary. I don't know why they have to do them, especially because they can make their own intellectual properties, and they do so well with some original properties. Why not? But how about you? What do you think about these Disney remakes? Are you for them? Are you against them? Or are you kind of neutral?
I go into it thinking, okay, I love the original, so why not go see something that's similar to it? Maybe they're going to change it up a bit. Maybe there'll be something more futuristic in it. Because some of these movies are from, what, the 50s, 30s, 40s, 50s,
you go way
60s, way back. So I'm like thinking, okay, come on, wow me, do something different. And I don't know. I don't know if I was wowed with Dumbo.
None of them really are wow. I think the only one that really wowed me, at least in its spectacle and its storytelling, was The Jungle Book, actually. See, my whole thing is if you're going to remake something, I agree with you. You got to do something a bit different from the original. And with the Lion, or not the, with the Lion King, with the Jungle Book, same director, by the way, he actually made Mowgli an interesting character. My main criticism with the first Jungle Book is that Mowgli wasn't really a character. He was just kind of like this set piece that interacted with things around him, but he was like this floating, bland character. He had no real personality. He didn't really contribute that much. he was saved by Baloo at the end of the movie. But in the remake, he actually went toe-to-toe with Shere Khan and with his own cunning, with his own wits, defeated Shere Khan. I like that angle. I like that they took that approach and that, Mowgli wasn't just bland.
That's a very deep analysis for a children's movie. Do you think they were trying to cater to someone who was thinking about a storyline and the main character and how he didn't do anything as a kid before? Or were they thinking, hey, let's go ahead and shoot this for kids who weren't around back in the day? Especially because Jungle Book's really old. If you didn't know, Google it.
That's a fair point, but you should never underestimate the intelligence of a kid. You shouldn't say just because this is for a kid, I can dumb it down, because kids are smarter than you think. And they can appreciate quality. That's why they loved the original films, because they were quality, not dumbing down.
I thought you said that you preferred the Mowgli in, what's his name, Mowgli?
I like Mowgli in the new one.
Yeah,
right.
so as a kid, it was the dumbed down version.
Well, he wasn't a dumbed down version. He was just a bland version of the character. A dumbed down version would be like, he acting silly and doing stupid things. While he did do stupid things, it was because of his ignorance. He just didn't realize the threat that was coming to him. Whereas in the new one, he actually was more instinctual. Like, he acted animalistic and he could think on his feet, which was smart. It's a clever decision by the director, and I actually liked what he did there. It was cool. And again, it was more engaging, more challenging. He didn't treat kids like they were idiots. He treated them as if they can handle some of these heavier stuff. I mean, there's some dark things in the Jungle Book.
Well, how old is Mowgli? Like 8?
He's about 8, 9 years old, probably.
Okay.
He's a young kid.
He's a young kid who wasn't exposed to any other human, so he's out there just living his life.
But that's my point, is that he was a character in the remake. In the original, he wasn't really that much of a character. So you don't really see any problems with Disney remakes, is what you're saying.
I try and tell myself, hey self, you're really old now, it's been decades. Don't try and think this is not like the first time when I watched it, because when I watched it, I was a kid who didn't really pay attention to things,
Didn't know and appreciate what they were.
Right.
But you found them entertaining, though.
Yeah, I wasn't feeling like, okay, I want to get out of here. I was putting already like a couple of scenes ahead, knowing where I was going to go, what was going to end up happening. And that kind of took me out of it for a little bit, but I just enjoyed it.
And therein lies the question, like, which one had a much more lasting impact on you? Was it the original or was it the remake?
Are we talking about Beauty and the Beast or
all
talking
of the
about
remakes
Jungle Book?
all the remakes that have happened since 2015 onward.
Definitely the original.
Exactly. Therein lies my point. And speaking of originality now, shall we dive into our Dumbo review? So, Ms. Santos.
Mr. Watley.
Would you care to tell the audience what the premise is to Dumbo 2019?
I'd love to. Audience, here's the premise. There are 2 little kids. They actually live at a circus. Either that's a dream or a nightmare. And we follow them as their dad returns home and he tries to pick up where he left off. And he ends up picking up a baby elephant known as Jumbo, and then he becomes Dumbo. And Dumbo was so great that this rich guy came to the circus and was like, I have a place called Dreamland. Do the face.
Come with me.
Exactly. And he was like, come with me to Dreamland.
Come with me to Dreamland.
And he was he brought everybody to Dreamland. And was it a dream or a nightmare? That's where everything kind of just spins out of the story. I don't know.
She ran out of breath.
I ran out of breath. I also don't want to give too much away because I don't remember what happened in Dumbo, the cartoon. So I don't want to give too much away. But just know, once I get to Dreamland, it's not really a dream.
Well, to be fair to you, everything that you saw from the original, no implications here. Besides the fact that it stars Dumbo, he can fly, and then some references here and there.
Okay.
Like, I'm sure many of you remember the scene where Dumbo's dressed up in all pain and he's like at the top of a burning tower and he has to jump. They recreated that too, to a certain degree in this film, although they added the kid element and other things. Because the whole thing about the first Dumbo, if I remember it correctly, was it was trying to build up to the fact that he could fly. There was hints that maybe he could fly, but he doesn't actually fly until the very end of the film.
That's right.
Because he was with the crows, and they sung a song about everything. When I see an elephant fly.
So that's why he flew, because they sang for him?
Well, no, they were testing it out, because remember, they got drunk one night. Yeah, no, this is a true thing. In the original Dumbo and the mouse get drunk one night, and then they end up on top of a telephone or like a wire, like a pole or something. And they were like, how did we get up there? And then the crows come and it's like, man, I done seen about everything, child. When I see an elephant fly. And then they try to teach him to fly. They did the whole scene where they're like doing the dust. And when the dust clears off, it's like, oh, let's give up. This isn't going to work. And then he's flying for real. And then they go back to that fire scene where he's on top of the flaming tower. They want him to jump down, but instead of jumping down and landing in the water, he flies off.
So you're telling me all this extra stuff in Dumbo 2019 was to take away from all of the heartache that Dumbo had to endure to end up flying eventually?
I would say it's more of a fluff to make it stand out compared to the original. And while I appreciate them trying to do something different, the thing is it wasn't effective. Now let's get into the review. Okay. So let's talk about the good, let's talk about the bad, and then we'll give our overall opinion, grade, yada yada. So what did you love about the film?
What did I love about the film? I loved, this is so sad, but the score was like one of the best parts for me because it really had that Tim Burton feel to it, and it was very subtle. Tim Burton was very subtle in this one. You really couldn't tell that it was his typical scenes until there was the one part at Dreamland where the security guards were walking and the trees are kind of encroaching. That's where I finally noticed it.
It felt like a Tim Burton film.
It did, and he kind of scaled back a bit. It was just really, I guess it was true to the 1919 feel of it. I didn't really like anything else about it.
Really?
Yeah, the score was good. Some of the shots were really pretty.
Wait, can I get this? So the only thing you liked about Dumbo 2019 was the score?
Yeah, let's get to what I didn't like.
Wait. Let me share what I like now.
Oh, Colin Farrell was good too.
I will say this though. So the guy who made the score is Danny Elfman, who is a longtime collaborator with Tim Burton. I will say this. I felt like he was kind of ripping off his own style. The notes he was using are the same type of notes that he used for Edward Scissorhands.
I like it. Yeah, those winter scenes, that's what I heard when it was sad. Yes.
I love that scene.
Yeah, so that's what I liked about it.
And I would say that scene where you see the trees creeping in is felt very vintage Tim Burton. But the whole film feels like modern day Tim Burton, where he's trying really hard to do his old aesthetic, but it's just like, why are you doing it like this, man? It's not as stylistic as your old films.
Yeah.
But as for what I liked, I personally, surprisingly, I like Dumbo. I thought Dumbo was a solid character. He was likable. I rooted for him. He was empathetic. He was cute looking. And when he, was doing his flying, it looked really cool. Yeah. I bought that an elephant flew. So it worked for me.
Wow, you really liked the main aspect of the movie.
Well, he was the main aspect, but he didn't get as much attention as I thought he was going to get.
That's
but
true.
He was really the heart of the film, and they did well by him, making him an interesting character. So I applaud them for that. I like the aesthetic of the film too.
Yeah.
It's very Tim Burton-esque. It looked nice. I'll give him that so much. The CGI on the elephants were pretty good.
It was really good actually.
Can't say though it was believable though. You could kind of tell it was CGI.
Yeah, when you got really close up on it, but that's to be expected. Also, I do want to say that Danny DeVito was awesome.
The acting is another thing I would say is, for the most part.
For the most part.
The acting was good.
Yeah.
We'll get to that soon.
So he was good. Also, Michael Keaton was pretty good too.
Come with me to an acting class, an overacting class.
Come with me. The thing is though, he's kind of like hit or miss his character because he was like overacting the heck out of his role. Now I think that was a purposeful choice by him. He was just like, well, I'm gonna be in this silly kids film, so why don't I just overact and talk like a funny voice kind of thing, and oh, I'm gonna do all these crazy things.
Here's what I think, that he did it intentionally also, but then he was kind of in the framework of a Disney villain, a cartoon Disney villain.
Yes, a cartoon Disney villain to the max.
Yes, and also he really was, I guess, a sociopath where he was like, come with me, do it again. Come
with me, Tori. Come with me.
He swindled poor Danny DeVito to leave everything, everything he made by himself.
As he stares blankly into an open field,
Yes.
Danny DeVito stares back at his circus. He's like, but that's my life.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted.
And then he gets so heartless. It's a typical crazy person. He's like, give me money, let me do this. I want power.
Speaking of that now, so let us get into the bad.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I feel like you have to unload right now. So you know what? Go on, Tori. Hit them with it.
All right, so Dumbo 2019, as a person who is not under the age of, let's say, 8 years old, not to say kids, again.
Maybe under the age of, let's go 10.
10, okay. There was some lack of wonderment for me because are we just supposed to think that the elephants understand what people are saying? Maybe that's why I hated the story so much, because it was different from the original one. I just really couldn't remember.
It's just the story is safe. That's another problem I had. Like,
yeah, very safe.
I feel so. I'm guessing her and I are gonna have very similar problems. I also didn't feel the wonderment of him. Like, oh, he can fly. It looked cool, but it wasn't like special.
Yeah.
It didn't feel special at least. But the story, I do agree with you. The problem is that it's not the same. It's just that it's safe and it doesn't do anything special. And they go with so many cliches, man. The broken family, the death of a parent. They always kill the mother. I don't know why they always kill the mother. And I will say though, visually speaking, to show that there are broken families, the fact that Colin Farrell lost an arm, so he's missing a part of himself. We get it. And then the whole like evil businessman, soulless business guy brings in the family, you know, sweetens them up and says, "Hey, we give you all this," but really he's a mean person. He's not to be trusted.
Yeah, that was very, like, when is he gonna flip the switch?
On the nose.
Yeah.
Very on the nose.
So I think that's why I felt like as soon as he started flying and then the rich guy came in, like you said, I was just like, when is this gonna be over with? Or what's gonna happen? Are we gonna cry yet? Because I didn't cry in the beginning. Because they cut out your favorite part, huh?
So one of the scenes that I wanted them to replicate again, and if they did, I would have gave them a lot of props. There's a scene in the original Dumbo where Dumbo's mom is locked away inside of her own little area, and Dumbo sneaks out to be with his mother because he just wants to be with his mom. And she can't really see him. She can only like reach her trunk out to kind of like touch him a little bit. But so there's a scene where, you know, she's wiping the tears off of his eyes, and then he grabs him and rocks him to sleep. It was such a sweet, tender scene.
It wasn't there.
It wasn't. They for lack of a better word, they half-assed it. Basically, they did the similar scene where he had her trunk out and she's rubbing him and, you know, touching his face, but then didn't go all the way, just like wrapping her arms or her trunk around him and swinging like that. That's all you had to do. I don't understand why you couldn't do that.
I think it's because it would have been too heartbreaking.
No, but that would have sold the emotional core of that moment. It was almost there. They were literally at the end of the finish line, or near the end, and then they stumbled.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, what about the characters though?
Oh, the characters. Danny DeVito again was good. Michael Keaton was great.
It was great in the overacting way, but I wouldn't say his character was great.
Yeah, his character was awful, but the acting was good.
Come with me.
You're right. Danny DeVito's character actually ended up to be a good part of the movie. Who else? Colin Farrell. His American accent was pretty good.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's trying too hard again.
Why did he have to be a cowboy who joined the circus?
But he's kind of forgettable, like a lot
He's
of
forgettable.
the characters.
Yeah, he was forgettable, and his kids were forgettable.
Oh God, the kids.
Supposedly
Can we
the
talk
main
about them real
part.
quick?
Let's talk about them real quick.
The main girl. You want me to go or you want to take this?
So we're like 10 minutes in. 10 minutes in, and Tony leans over and goes, "Why does she talk like a robot?" And then something clicked in my brain, like she does talk like a robot. She acts like a robot, and it
What's
just
going on,
annoyed
Dad?
me.
What's happening here?
She
Dumbo's
blinks
sad.
like she's
Dumbo's
programmed
sad.
to only blink 5 times in a minute.
Don't worry, we're gonna get your mom back. It's okay. Everything's gonna be fine. Don't worry, Dumbo. We love you. We love you very much. That's
Like I'm
everything.
back in the movie. That was really good.
You know what's funny though? I wanted to reach over to you and say, we need to take a shot every time she asks a question. It's almost every line of dialogue she'll bring up a question like, where's he taking him? What's happening, Dad? Dad, where are you going? Dumbo, what's happening? Dumbo, what's that? It's like,
only for questions.
did you just write a script where she just asked questions and then you fill in everything else with the blank expression? Who gave her who gave her direction? Was it Tim Burton or was there like her mom and dad's like, you could do it, sweetie, but I need you to act a bit more bland, honey. Just a bit more bland.
It really felt like that. It's like you couldn't make her be better. You couldn't find someone else who was better.
Now, we're not trying to be mean. Like, they are
Yeah.
kids. We
Yes.
understand. They're still learning. But my good, the other kid, the
That's
boy,
why. That's
was
why.
good. He acted like a kid.
Yes.
And there was a sense of wonderment with him when it came to seeing Dumbo flying or wanting to be with Dumbo. Honestly speaking, he should have been the main character. He should have been. And this whole thing of like her wanting to be a scientist, what does that matter? It didn't matter at the end of the day. It's not like her ingenuity of scientific development led to any real significance of the story. Honestly speaking, it served nothing. Now, if she used her ingenuity at the end of the film in the third act, okay, there was a build-up to it. But it's just like, I want to be a scientist. And it just felt like, we get it, Disney, we get it. Girls can be whatever they want. No one said they couldn't. So it just felt like a shoved in message that made the character not even a character, but more of just a talking point. You know, I don't know if you felt that, but I felt that at least.
No, I really don't pick up on that stuff. I felt like they maybe just wanted to throw in why she was like, well, if this happens, he's gonna fly. So keep feeding him those feathers, right?
I just think when a character brings up a point, saying something about themselves, it needs to serve a purpose to the character. Her mentioning that she loves science and she wants to be a scientist should have played a vital, pivotal role in her character down the line. But can you name a moment in the film where that does come into play?
Yeah, when she was in the science place for half a second, remember that?
But that doesn't even, that
That's
doesn't mean
my
anything.
girl should run away to go to school. Here's a flash of something weird. Okay, back to the elephant.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Eva Green, again, just a waste of her talent. Every time she's in these Tim Burton films, I'm always saying to myself, why do you go back to this guy? He's not giving you anything to work with. Like, the best role Tim Burton ever gave her was in one of his bad movies, which was Dark Shadows, where she played the seductress witch. She really hammed it up and did well in the role. But other than that, every other role she's had with Tim Burton have been lackluster and forgettable. I don't even remember Miss Peregrine. Like, she wasn't even the most interesting character in her own film.
Maybe she just wanted to be the focus of Dumbo.
Either way, again, it's another lackluster experience. But you know what, though? You know what? I'm not even surprised. I'm not even let down. This is exactly what I thought it was going to be. Dumbo 2019. While not being an awful film, not being a good film, it's a middle-of-the-road film. It's a by-the-numbers, play-it-safe remake that nobody's going to remember in a year or so. And that's really what a lot of these Disney remakes feel to me. They're of-the-moment cash grabs rather than being their own significant movies that are trying to either make a point or be something magical and entertaining, which is what a Disney film needs to be. That's my problem. Did you know we have 4? There's 4 Disney remakes this year. 4. This is the first one.
And you're
Then
gonna
we
do
got
all
Aladdin.
of them.
Are you gonna force me to do all of
I'm
them?
not gonna force you. You're gonna do all of them
So basically, she's forcing me.
for the views.
So what about you, though? What's your final summation about Dumbo?
Oh my goodness, are we giving stars?
Well, so Raph and I do this system where we like take a random thing that correlates to the film, and that's our rating system.
Oh, what would you?
So,
give
for
it?
example, I would say that after saying all of my spiel, I would give Dumbo 2019 2 racist crows out of 5. When I see an elephant fly.
I would give it 3 out of 5 because, like I said, you have to take yourself out of being an old fart and pretend you're a kid with,
I find it funny, you gave it a higher rating, yet you like less things in the film than I did.
I'm trying not to. Because this is how I see it. I did feel the time, even though it was like 2 hours, some.
Bordering around 2 hours.
Like you said, I was just like, when is this over with? So that I take a character off for that, and I also take a character off for just how bored I was. You know, it goes together, but I could realize how long a movie is and still pay attention. I found myself just tuning out.
Yeah. I get that. For me, those would have major implications for my grading. If I'm bored during a film, it can't get higher than a 3 already. And then when you have lazy storytelling, bad characters, you start chipping away at that grade until it gets down to what it got now. At least that's how I grade it. But everybody's different, which is a great segue to say, you know, those were our takes on Dumbo. But we would definitely love to know what you guys thought about the film yourself if you have seen it. Be sure to share that comment down below. And basically that ends this review discussion about Dumbo. We hope you enjoyed, and hopefully Tori can join us for another one of these. Definitely do.
Aladdin.
Oh, do we have to do all the Disney remakes?
We should ask them if they want you to do all the Disney.
Let us know in the comments. Would you like to see Tori and I explore all the Disney remakes? All of them. All 4 that are coming out this year. Wait, I figured it out. Put in the comments, Tony x Tori go to the movies. That's how I'll know if you guys want this to continue. So be sure to put that hashtag everywhere in the comment section. But that basically ends this week's Take 2. I thank you for joining me, Tori, and hopefully we'll join her again. Any final words you want to share with the subscribers?
Thanks for having me, and I like that I can kind of offset your actual critiques. You know, he's like a verified movie critic. I, however, just like to tell people, was it a long movie? Did I hate it? Did I love it? Would I watch it again? And I wouldn't watch Dumbo again. I want to end with that. I'm just done with it. No more. Also, you can also hear reviews on the radio because it's easier to edit because we just do it live on Power 98. You can download the app, Power 98 Guam.
When can they check you out?
Monday to Friday from 10 to 2. Tori's World. Just ask for me. Tori.
But that's before the best show, which is Shimmy to the Shimmy Shack, Shimmy to the Shimmy Shack. Power 98 to bring the back. Tori, that hurt my arm, man.
What did we learn?
We learned that that'll do it for Take 2 this week. I'm Tony Watt II, and cut!